Okay, so good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are around the world. If you can open the cameras, that will just make me happier so I can talk to people, to faces. You can use the chat here to write a little bit where are you from, what are you interested to study. And what I want to let you know, we are recording this session, so we'll edit it and we'll send it to you again. So you'll be able to look at it again. Okay, so let's start. My name is Aliza Fleischer, okay? And one second. Okay. Okay, my name is Aliza Fleischer. I'm the Vice Dean for International Affairs of the Faculty of Agriculture, Food and Environment of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. I'll give you a very short introduction about the Hebrew University. We are part of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. It has few faculties, it has a few campuses. I'll give you a brief introduction to the university which we are part of. Introduction to the master's program in environmental sciences will give Dr. Tomer Malchi. Tomer, say hi. Yeah, he's co-heading the program and he's also an alumni. He got his PhD in our faculty. And Professor Benny Chefetz will follow Tomer. He is also co-heading the program. He's also the dean of our faculty, and he's one of the leading scientists for water pollution. He will give you a very short highlight on an ongoing research about water pollution in rivers, which is really a big issue, and he's part of very large research group dealing with it. So this is a big environmental issue. Just to give you a flavor, what do we do here? Okay, so let's start. If you have, and what I want to tell you, if you have any questions, please write them in chat. I cannot answer it, but who will be answering will be Nurit Ben Aaron. She's here with us, and Shana, she's also with us. They will answer your chat. You can write also whatever you want, a little bit about yourself. What are you interested? If you have any questions, they will answer you as we go along. And we'll end up this whole session with questions and answers. And I hope we'll see you here next year. So a little bit about the Hebrew University. It was founded in 1918. We have 6 campuses. Our campus is not located in Jerusalem, it's located very close to Jerusalem, about 40 minutes away from Jerusalem, half an hour from Tel Aviv. We have 7 faculty, 14 schools. We have 10% of our students are international. While in our faculty, it's even higher percentage, higher share of our students are international students. And we have the university in total has about 25,000 students. In our faculty, we have about 2,500. So the founders, first of all, Albert Einstein was one of the founders of the Hebrew University, and probably all of you heard about it. Chaim Weizmann, Sigmund Freud, they are all, Chaim Nachman Bialik, Martin Buber, are all big names. They all were part of the Hebrew University. They established it, they have their vision there, and it's our legacy. A little bit about our reputation as a university. So we have 8 Nobel Prizes related, whether they are teachers, whether they were students, lecturers, or researchers in our university. We have 1 field medal in math, a Turing Award in computer science. You know, there's no Nobel Prize for computer science, so there is the Turing Award, and there is the Abel Prize, which is the Nobel Prize for mathematics. We have other many awards that our researchers receive, so, and many other prizes. We are also top world 100 most innovative university. And as you know very well, Israel is very well known. It's considered the startup nation, and you can see it all over our labs and research. It's very significant. We also ranked 90th in the world in Shanghai ranking, which is a very high considering the thousands and thousands of universities that we have around the world. So why to study at the Hebrew University? It's the top Israel university. We have a lot of interdisciplinary studies at the university, and especially in our campus. Innovative and creativity in teaching and research. We have our students, there is a club called Facultet, which is a startup club for our students where they get together and they give support, and we give them support in order to create spin-off from the research they conduct and begin and open a startup. We have many startups that started in our campus, and there was spin-off and companies were established based on them. We have internship, we have a lot of applied research, strong international alumni community, student-centered approach. We definitely put the students in the center. This is the most important thing for us. Jerusalem at your backdrop, while some campuses are closer to Jerusalem, our campus is 40 minutes drive, it's not far away. And we definitely have a lot of student life. We give you a lot of support and we conduct many activities. This is the areas of strength of the all university. And you can see here, I circled environmental sciences. Definitely, we are the forefront of anything that's to do with environmental sciences. You can listen to the research that Benny will give you, and Professor Benny Hefet will give you an example of the research, ongoing research. So that's us. Our campus and all our campuses, we came back to face-to-face teaching. Okay, no more Zoom teaching. Students return to campus. Campus-wide measures have made our classroom, laboratories, libraries, restaurants safe and approachable for an optimal student experience. I think Israel is opening more and more, and I think March 1st, all the restrictions considering COVID will disappear. So next year, I hope will be COVID-free or COVID restriction-free. In order, we have a lot of student support activities. We give you pre-arrival service. We have emergency support 24/7, buddy system. We have student supporting each other, social and cultural activities, which we organize, weekend programs, field trips, sports center. At our campus, we have a big sports center, a pool, a lot of activities. We have Huji Innovative Center, which is a part of, we have it in our campus, but it's part of the all university. And we give you full support for visa guidance, self-quarantine if it's needed. I hope that by next year, by October, we won't need it and it will disappear. How to register process for graduate program, check if you meet the admission requirements, submit your application form online, pay your application fee. You don't have to remember all of it. You will receive this, the recording of this Zoom session. You will receive it, we'll send it to you, so you'll be able to look at it again. There's no problem. And if you have any other questions, please write an email to Nurit or to Shana. Please, Nurit and Shana, write your email address in the chat. You can always write to them. You can ask them. If you forgot to ask something, you can write to them. We give you all the answers that are needed. So question and answer we'll leave to the end. And right now, I will give the stage to Dr. Tomer Malchi. Tomer is co-heading the program together with Professor Benny Hefet, and he's also received his PhD from our campus, and he will tell a little bit about himself because he's very innovative and an entrepreneur in what is he doing with the knowledge he acquired at our campus. Tomer, please.
Thank you, Eliza. and thank you everyone for being here. I'm always glad to have people come and hear me speak. I like to talk a lot, so I hope you enjoy it. I want to say that first of all, this is a picture of the campus at Rehovot. And if you're not sure whether they're coming or not, this is a good reason to come. It's a very relaxed atmosphere. It's very unique. And I wish we could take you on an actual tour to come see the site, because it's really an amazing campus. The program is headed by Professor Benny Chefetz, who will speak at the end also, our dean at the Faculty of Agriculture, and I'm part of the team here. In addition to my studies at the university, I'm also the executive director of Cultivate, an Israeli NGO, does agricultural development on an international scale. Kind of just an introduction to me a little bit, just so you know who I am. My two worlds. On one hand, I've been doing I finished my PhD research less than a year ago. I did my master's also at the faculty, and also my PhD. I'm looking at pharmaceuticals in the environment. One of the pollutants that today is becoming more and more increasing concern is the medicines that we all take. Every time we take any kind of medicine, eventually it goes through our body, it goes into the sewage system, and eventually in Israel, we clean the water and we reuse it for agriculture. And we look to see if there is an interaction between these compounds who are now entering our environment and the plants, whether plants take them up, and whether they're broken down in the soil or in the plant system. Basically, my research looked at the connection between pharmacology and plant sciences, trying to see if we can learn from these two systems, which are surprisingly more alike than we'd probably think. In addition to my research, one of the things that I was looking at also was looking at Israel's own technology and understanding that we are a bubble in the world. And when we look at Israel, we see pressurized irrigation and drip irrigation everywhere, and lots of greenhouses and very advanced agriculture. And when you look around the world, you don't see it. And part of my thinking there was I established with two partners, Cultivate, which looks at scaling up Israel's technology to the rest of the world. Something that I think is part of this course and part of this program as well is we're hoping that people who take this are going to be part of this scale up, where we see access to Israeli technology that can then be spread all over the world through the graduates of this program. And this is just kind of to show off, Cultivate, what we do. This is specifically some pictures from Tanzania, one of the areas we work. We work also in Ethiopia and Kenya, and we train in agriculture, looking at Israeli technologies and placing graduates from the Faculty of Agriculture on site to be part of a training program and transferring knowledge along with the technologies that we implement. So I'm going to do a quick poll. I hope everyone's using the polls, knows how to use them. I've never done this before, so we're going to launch a poll that really asks, I'm really curious to know what people think, what kind of perspective you have. Is the world getting better or worse? What is our perspective? What does the world look like? So I'm sorry, the question's a little bit off, but yes means it's getting better. No is getting worse. Sorry, I messed up on the answers here. But no means that it's getting worse. Is it getting better? Yes. And we see, I think everyone answered, and it's about 50-50 AC, which is interesting. So half the people think that it's getting
Give
better.
it one more second.
And
John,
the no takes.
one more second. I'll launch the poll. 1 second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think it's
okay. Here, look at it now. 1 second. There you go.
And we can share results.
Yeah.
Okay. So people see the results?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is really interesting to think about. That is the world getting better or worse? It's about, we'll say 50-50, right? Statistical errors, we're good. And I think the question is why do we think either one? Like what shapes our opinion if the world is getting better or worse? Is it based on fact, or is it based on the media? Did we look at specific topics to see if they're getting better or worse? And I think my personal opinion is that the media is very good at scaring us, and that the world is not as bad as we think it is. And I just want to show a little bit. I'm not going to actually ask the questions here, but just kind of think about it. You know, when we look at how many children will be in the world in 2100, right? In about 80 years from now, do we think that it will go up to 4 billion, 3 billion, or 2 billion, right? And a lot of people, I'm sure that people who answer the world's getting worse will say 4 billion. But when we look at the population growth, we usually see this never ending going up type of graph, but it eventually evens out and it will flatten out, meaning that the world will be, the population growth is decreasing in terms of rates, okay? When we look at the average lifespan, right? What is the average life expectancy at birth in the world today? How old will people live? Will people grow up to be 50, 60, or 70 years old? And I'll let you think about the answer. And 7 years old, which is surprising. I also, when I looked at the data, was surprised to see what the results were. When we look at what percent of the world's population today are literate, meaning how many people can read and write, and here also, if it's 80, 60, or 40%, today it's actually 80%. There's been an increase, a very strong increase in schools. More and more people know how to read and write today than what we think. I think this is the last question I have here, and one I think really kind of sums up. In 1980, 40% of the world's population lived in extreme poverty, which was then less than $2 a day. What is the share of today's world that lives in extreme poverty? 10%, 30%, or 50%? And I think most of us will be surprised to think that it's 10%. And the reason that most people will get these wrong, and there's a book I recommend called Factfulness, that asks these questions to the world's leaders, to the people making decisions today, whether it's CEOs, whether it's heads of states, people at the World Bank or the United Nations. And the author says that clearly if he takes a group of monkeys that answer purely in statistics, 1/3 to each one of these, they will get better scores in every single question compared to the world's leaders. Because we fail to update our own thinking. Usually we learn something 10, 20 years ago, and we will remain with that belief. But it's important to constantly be updating our own understanding, our own data, right? Just so we actually know what's happening in the world and not be based, our understanding of the world based on what it was 20 years ago. And this is one of the points that I like to make when we look at the environment. And I like to use this example of how the world is being scared into thinking that it's so much worse than it is. This example is from 1890s. In many of the world's largest cities, whether it's New York or London, there was a huge problem of horse manure. Everything, all of our transport was based on horses. Industrialization was taking off, populations were exploding, and the world was very scared about how the world would look in the future. The average horse produces 8 to 16 kilograms of manure a day. And if you have in New York City 100,000 horses, you're talking over 1 million kilograms of manure each day. And the only way to clean up this manure is by hand. So you had a huge staff of people going around the city cleaning up manure. And the newspapers kept on saying that what will happen in 50 years, that the city of New York will not be able to keep up with its manure, and that the city will be covered under 3 meters of manure. Did it happen? Was New York City covered in manure? Obviously not, because of the technology that no one even thought about, right? The automobile came along, and by 1920, there were no more horses on the streets of New York, right? The world was scared and in a hype about the fact that there is no future to look at, that the world is going to crumble down because of this problem of environmental pollution, of manure that no one knows how to take care of. But technology has an amazing way of solving these problems. And behind the technology are scientists. And that's what this program is all about, right? When we look today around us, we see some major technologies that are very, very new. I think even thinking about having this open day on Zoom is an amazing innovation that no one would have thought was going to happen 10 years ago, right? When you look at the smartphone, what is the effect of this on the world? Today, when we look at the environment and agriculture, our ability to monitor has increased dramatically because technologies that no one would have thought of would have existed 20 years ago. A lot of the hype that exists today is based on leaders that grew up 30 years ago and believe that the world is in one state. And when you look today at the world, at different solutions that exist, are they really aware of what's happening? And for that, we need scientists. And we have a lot of challenges. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of problems that need to be solved, but they're not going to be solved by running around with our head and our arms screaming around. You know, we need people to come together and think about solutions, to think about how do we solve problems of population growth and economic growth, food security and water scarcity. How do we really make the oceans have a better ecosystem? And how do we solve problems of energy and child nutrition and climate change? All of these need to have solutions, and these solutions will not come from politicians, but they'll come from people like you who come into this program and start learning the science behind the environment. And when we look at the challenges that are in front of us, I think the Sustainable Development Goals sum up what needs to be solved, whether it's issues of poverty or hunger or water. The program at the Faculty of Agriculture is able to address maybe about 10 or 11 out of the 17 problems. So we're not going to solve everything, but definitely the solutions are within this program, within the Faculty of Agriculture and Hebrew University, to start addressing and solving and finding and applying the solutions that exist to solve these issues. And the ability to study environmental sciences is wide. There are lots of programs out there, lots of universities, and there is something unique about Israel that obviously if you're on this call, you're interested in, and you want to understand what is so unique about Israel to study here compared to other countries. And I think the fact that Israel is a very young country with a very advanced technological sector, and with very advanced agriculture and water sectors and technologies, provides a place that requires other countries to come, take technology, and scale up this knowledge around the world. The solutions to most of the world's environmental problems are within Israel. They're located in the country, and they're being applied to a lot of solutions. Sometimes you can think of Israel as a laboratory for the rest of the world, for good and for bad. But there's a lot of very unique expertise that's developed here and a lot to learn from within the campus. And I think when we look at the challenges that exist for us in the world, whether it's issues of hunger or water, whether it's issues of agricultural productivity, the end is we need to find ways for all of our economic growth, our agricultural growth, to be sustainable. And that means taking into account the environment. Right? And this is why the Faculty of Agriculture provides even more a unique experience within Israel, where we're not just looking at this wide realm of environmental sciences, but we look at it with the lens of agriculture, which today, for anyone who's looking around the world and looking to solve most of the problems that are related to the environment, agriculture is usually the biggest burden on the environment. Well, on the other hand, we have to create a lot more food if we're going to have a few more billion people here in the next 20 years. So there's a dilemma that needs to be addressed, and these have to come hand in hand. I think what in Israel we see that's very impressive is that the technologies that exist here were created out of necessity. And this is some pictures from the south of Israel, from the Arava. You can see on the right what it looks like before people started to settle. But with technological advancement, with ingenuity, with entrepreneurship, communities were established, as you can see, that are running on solar power, that have greenhouses, that take brackish water that is desalinized and treated and used for irrigation. And it's impressive to think of the vision that existed to take an area that looks barren and useless and understand that there are many resources that could be used. And that means using the sun for its energy and using brackish water to grow crops that can produce high yields with that type of water, and even for export. So from an area that looks like it is inhabitable to being an area that is an economic miracle is what we've seen in Israel's desert area in the south. I think also when you look at the entire water sector in Israel, there's a lot to understand that there is a ingenuity behind it. You know, when you look at the numbers of how much water we use and how much water we have, there is on average, when you look at the rainfall in Israel, about 1.7 billion cubic meters of water a year, while the usage of water is 2.2 billion. We use more than comes in. How do we do that? How do we create water from thin air? There are technologies in Israel that do that. They do create based on humidity. But specifically in Israel, we're able to recycle our domestic water and reuse it for agriculture. So we use a lot of the water twice, once in our homes and then again in agriculture. When we look at the numbers behind it, you know, we look at over 500 million cubic meters that are used as treated wastewater. And of course, there are environmental issues to consider. Just like the research that I was talking about in the beginning, looking at pharmaceuticals that are introduced into the environment. So there has to be a balance. There has to be research that understands what are the implications of using this technology. And this is exactly what happens at the Faculty of Agriculture. We look at how agriculture and the environment interact with one another. The use of desalinized water, 600 million cubic meters in Israel, one of the highest percentages in the world. And you can understand that we are able to take seawater and turn it into drinking water and increase the amount of water available for use. And even during times of drought and times of climate change, we have a reserve of seawater that we can use in case there's not enough rain. Israel is among the highest percentage-wise of using sewage water and cleaning it out to use for agriculture, a technology that today is being scaled up all over the world. We think that this is just one example of Israeli technology that has been developed here and is being scaled up to many countries today. What's needed is expertise. What's needed is a scientist who can operate these types of systems and make sure that they are well working right, and understanding also what is the environmental effect of these types of technologies. The Israeli water sector is really born out of necessity, right? When you look at Israel, you see here two maps. One on the right is the rainfall in Israel, and you can see that most of our rain is in the north. Where you have the blue and the purple is areas that get a lot more water, Sea of Galilee, where most of our fresh water is stored, and of course the aquifers underneath, which are not shown here. In the south, where you see Beersheba, the orange area, and southward is desert. Most of our agriculture is located to the east of Beersheba and south in the Arava. But there's no water there. So we had to look at ways to transfer water from the north to the south. And today, with the desalinization of water, we also look at how to transfer water from the south to the north to make sure that areas that may have drought, we can transfer water back and forth. This technology that was developed has spurred into a wide range of technologies that we consider the water tech sector. And I think it's important to think about what the whole water sector looks like. And on one hand, we have very large infrastructure that you see on the top right. And then in the middle, you see that our water is digitalized. All of our sensors create engineers and scientists that sit on computers and are able to monitor a lot of different data and technologies at once. This requires different technologies to be developed in wastewater and domestic application regarding irrigation, desalinization, different types of sensors and data management, and of course, ensure that our water is safe and secure. And when we look at the agriculture sector, also here we see a very advanced sector. Israel has some of the highest yielding crops. A lot of the technologies that came into use in Israel's agriculture sector were developed at the Faculty of Agriculture. Almost all of the knowledge that exists in Israel is based at the Faculty of Agriculture. So you have this institution that has a lot of technology and also connections throughout Israel's agricultural sector. And I think this graph kind of summarizes the innovation and really the agricultural miracle that Israel was able to do. And if you look at the red line, you can see that the water use in Israel more or less has stayed the same. We have not been using more water in agriculture, but at the same time, when you look at the dotted black line, you see that we've been able to increase yields. And that comes with improved agronomy, improved technology, and that really is a key part in Israel's agricultural success. Technology is key towards solving a lot of the problems that are faced by our world, by our environment today. I think an example of environmental issues that exist in Israel are really the dairy industry. Israel today has a very strong dairy industry. We are one of the highest producers of milk per cow per day. I just to kind of give an example. In a lot of countries like Ethiopia, Tanzania, the average milk production per cow per day ranges anywhere between 5 to 15 liters per day. While in Israel, the average cow produces somewhere between 40 to 60 liters per day. That's a lot of milk per cow. These are very big animals with very important management. And this means sensors. This means ensuring that the cows don't overeat. It means having the right type of feed. At the same time, an animal that produces 40 to 60 liters a day produces a lot of manure. And this became a very big problem in Israel environmentally, that the manure became a very big source of pollution. And for this, there had to be an agreement between different government agencies, along with the dairy board and farmers, to understand how to solve this issue. And at the end, the solutions that came about looked at how do you create a more environmentally sustainable infrastructure for the dairy farm. And through this reform process, that the program that we're talking about here will go in depth to discuss exactly what was done. It would really talk about how the amount of dairy farms was reduced by about half, while at the same time the amount of milk production was increased by 50%, and how compliance by the Ministry of the Environment was made sure, while making sure that the dairy farms are able to upgrade their own infrastructure to be both economical and environmental. And these solutions to the pollution looked at really a lot of science here was necessary to see how you prevent infiltration of the manure and all of its residue through the soils. How do you prevent water pollution? How do you make sure that the rainwater isn't contaminated? What do you do with the manure? What kind of treatments can you do? And really finding a lot of environmentally friendly solutions. And the people that were behind these solutions, almost all of them came out of the Faculty of Agriculture. And this is the type of education, type of program that come out from the students come out with when they graduate from the university there. And I want to, from here, kind of transition to talk about the specific program that you're all here to listen about, the environmental science program at the International School, the Faculty of Agriculture. It's one of the several programs that are offered and opening in October 2022. The environmental science program has gone through some updates. So the program that you'll be seeing online is not updated yet. And it's important for me to kind of emphasize that we've made a lot of changes to the program in order to make it as relevant as possible to the current global environmental issues. I think a lot of knowledge has come out that we need to find ways to address what's happening today in the world. And that means taking, again, Israeli knowledge and technology and understanding how to scale it up. And part of it is learning from not only the good things in Israel, but learning also from the problems, many of the problems that we have. We are not able to solve all of them right away, but our scientists are working, researching to understand what kind of solutions are needed. And I think well, the program itself will look at several different aspects of environmental sciences. We'll be looking at water, will be a main component of the courses you take, soil and water pollution, understanding the sources of pollution, what happens to pollutants in the environment. Some of the courses that will be available will look at what is the fate of different types of pollutants within water and soil systems. We'll be looking at the food systems, right? So looking from field to fork and understanding how the environment is affected by the agricultural system, and also looking at how this affects our health. So a healthy environment and a healthy population go hand in hand, and it's something that will be covered through one of the courses. We'll also be looking at what does it mean to have environmentally sustainable agriculture, and understanding, again, like you're hearing this over and over, but the emphasis is really this interaction between agriculture and the environment, but also going beyond it and looking at things like finance and sustainable development as a whole. I think it's important to understand that we really try to give, to diversify the courses. The course here on finance and impact is looking at who are the major players in the financial world and how do they affect the decisions being made to implement different solutions. And I hope that people who come through this program will eventually be some of the decision makers and be able to use the knowledge from this program to make the right decisions. And something that's very interesting and very important that we're also adding is to actually have the site visits through the program. So the program will not just be in class, you'll be going and exploring Israel, exploring the different types of solutions that exist, the different companies, the different government agencies that are responsible for implementing sound environmental policy and environmental technologies. And also through the program, we'll be offering with the graduation the possibility of taking on an internship program with one of Israel's leading companies or leading agencies. And this is something that is new and unique. And we hope that when you come through this program, you'll be taking advantage of this internship opportunity. I think it's also important to state that the program that we're offering is a one-year non-thesis track. But for anyone who is really interested in environmental sciences, I highly recommend looking at doing the thesis track, looking at research. At the end of the day, the knowledge that you take in will only be strengthened if you're also part of creating additional knowledge. And I think this is what the research is. You're going to be creating knowledge within you, but also looking at how you can contribute to this growing field of environmental sciences. The Faculty of Agriculture is a leading research institution, and it would be an amazing opportunity to try and study with some of these researchers in the labs and get that experience as well. So I highly recommend looking also at thinking of doing the two-year thesis track. Just some pictures of what you can expect when you look at the Faculty of Agriculture and the international programs. It really is a very wide and diverse group with people from all over the world. It's a very unique experience to come to Israel and to experience it with a lot of people who are from different countries, different environments, have different issues that they need to address in their own countries. But it's important to have leaders and thinkers and scientists standing side by side and learning together and really sharing our knowledge and our experiences with one another. So with that, I really hope that we get to see most of you in Israel in this program. And if there's any, I'm sorry, now Benny, I think is from here. Benny, I'm going to transfer it over to you.
Okay, so thank you, Tomer. I just want to stress one point that Tomer mentioned. The two-year thesis track, in order to enter this track, you need to secure an advisor, which is just really very difficult. So we consider the one-year non-thesis track as a gateway to the thesis track. So many of our students start with the one-year non-thesis track, and while they are on our campus, they work shoulder to shoulder with our scientists in the lab. They have an exercise in the lab. They can find an advisor, and most of them continue for the second year. But they do start with the one-year thesis track, which is the easier than to find an advisor that will finance you. Okay, thank you, Tomer. Benny, Professor Benny Chefetz is the dean of our faculty, and he will give you some highlights from his research.
Hi, Aliza. Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Shalom, as we say in Hebrew. It's a great pleasure to be here. So I'm Benny. I will be the academic leader of the program, and I'm a professor of environmental chemistry. So this is what I'm doing for a living, studying the environment and especially studying the agricultural environment. And I was also Tomer's supervisor in his PhD, so I'm quite involved in that area, and I'm very happy about that. I will be very brief. I think that Tomer made a wonderful job in order to understand or give you an overview of the program. And I would like to highlight only one issue that is related to our study, and that will give you a perspective of what you can gain if you are coming to our campus, if you are joining our research group, because I think that one of the advantage of working with us or studying with us is that we can share with you the knowledge and the expertise that we are already experiencing in Israel, and that is basically the future of the climate change in many other countries. So coming over here will give you an advantage and tools to combat climate change a decade or 2 decades from now in other countries, because they are not yet in a situation that climate change is really affecting day-to-day life. And here it's affecting the agricultural activities, affecting people in the country. So what we are experiencing now, Europe will experience 10 or 20 years from now, even North America, and some other places in Europe. So coming over here is learning the best way to deal with climate change. And I would like to share with you just 2 slides in order to highlight what we are doing. And I will be very brief, just a second. I hope that you can see my screen. So I will talk about pharmaceuticals in the environment. And why talking about pharmaceuticals in the environment? Because this is the focus of our study. And again, when I'm teaching you, when I will teach you, when you will join my lab, you will come to the lab that is doing one of the most pioneer studies in environmental sciences dealing with pharmaceuticals. So why pharmaceuticals? Tomer mentioned that a little bit, and I will mention that later on, but just 2 sentences that are quite important over here. If you choose other programs in many other schools, and there are very good programs in environmental sciences, but most of those programs will deal on issue related, just a second, where is my pointer? Okay, will deal with human in the environment and the effect of human activities on the environment, which is important. However, our different perspective is that we are dealing with the agricultural environment, understanding how intensive agriculture is affecting the environment. However, the environment that is being affected by the agricultural activity is also affecting the agricultural sector in a turn, and that is affecting human health. So we are talking here about chain of events that we need to understand in order to make sure that the future will be better than today and better than the past. And just to highlight that our activities are really providing an echo to many other people around the world and is giving publicity in many other in news. This is just a picture of a river. It's not a river, it's a stream in Tunisia. And that was taken by a colleague of mine from University of York, that together we published a recent paper just a week ago about pharmaceuticals in river. And you can see that the BBC has been following that. And actually there was an echo of more than 190 newspaper articles resulting from this study that was published just last week. So we are in the front of all activities that is done in environmental sciences, especially in that respect, in respect to pharmaceuticals in the environment. And when looking at why pharmaceuticals, so Tomer mentioned that very briefly, but I will give you some more examples. So as a society, we are taking medication on a daily basis. Those can be painkillers, hormones, anti-epileptic drugs, lipid regulators, name it, you've got it. We are taking a lot of medication on a daily basis. We are taking those medications and they are being consumed by our body, but they are being excreted out of our body, mainly in the urine, after a couple of hours. This is why we are taking, I don't know, ibuprofen or paracetamol every 6 hours, because the body can eliminate those pharmaceuticals, but they don't break them down to CO2. So they are still active, or some of them are still active. So we excrete them out of our body and they are being collected with the sewage to the wastewater treatment plant in places that there are wastewater treatment plant. But those plants were not really designed to start with to get rid of all those active ingredients. So therefore, in the treated water, in the treated effluents, in what we call reclaimed wastewater, we still detect residues of the pharmaceuticals that we consumed a couple of hours ago. So the treated effluents can enter those rivers, and I will show you some data about what is happening in rivers in a minute. So, but in a place like Israel and like Tanzania, Tunisia, and other places that we are suffering from water scarcity, we don't have the luxury to waste even low quality of water and to pump them into rivers or lake. We are using the water for irrigation. Therefore, now residues of those pharmaceuticals that were designed to treat humans, that sick humans, are now entering the agricultural environment. And this is our playground. Basically, I'm a soil chemist by training. So we are studying what is happening, what is the fate of ibuprofen, for instance, in the soil environment, whether it can be degraded in the soil, whether it can be taken up by plants. So what is the fate of those active pharmaceuticals or hormones or antibiotics, you name it, you've got it, in the soil environment. So this is where we started, but we are now moving to understand whether some of those pharmaceuticals can be taken up by plants and eventually end up in the edible parts, meaning that we as a society, when we are consuming produce that were irrigated with low quality of water, are loaded with pharmaceuticals, different types of pharmaceuticals, and now we are being exposed to those pharmaceuticals. Whether we were a sick person that took that drug, that now is exposed to that drug by just consuming lettuce or cucumber or potato, or we are healthy human beings that are now unknowingly exposed to medication in low concentration because we are just consuming what is available in the market. So we are studying on that, and we are one of the leader group in the world that are looking at the continuum of water, soil, plant, human being cycle, see whether we are affected by that. So in that case, I'm just showing you how agriculture can affect human health and how human is affecting the healthy of the agricultural environment. And so this is one example. The second example is what I just mentioned about the pharmaceutical pollution in the world's river. So we were part of a large team of researchers that took samples from rivers and streams around the world. And you see all those black points over here, those are the sampling points all over the world. So we sampled more than 1,000 sites around the world, including, of course, Israel. Here is Israel. But, and you can see here a list of many pharmaceuticals that we were analyzing and their concentration. But what is important in that slide is to show you that the problems that we are facing here in Israel are not only unique to Israel, they are unique to, it's widespread around the globe. And we need to study what is the fate of pharmaceuticals in the rivers, whether they are affecting the ecosystem over there, and whether it will affect human beings in the end, although we are not drinking directly the river water. But this just to show you that me and other faculty members that will be the teachers in this program are in the front of the research that has been done in different areas and different aspects of environmental sciences here at the Faculty of Agriculture in Rehovot. So that was very brief example, and I sure hope that we convinced you that this is the right place to study environmental sciences, and this is the right place to get hands-on on activity that is now done in Israel that will be most likely needed in the near future in other countries. So thank you very much, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you, Benny. Any questions? Please start asking. If you have other questions that you think of, Nurit and Shana wrote the email, you can write to them, ask later. Any questions? Everything was
Maybe I have a
clear?
question. Can I ask a question? Can I ask Tomer a question?
Sure.
Tomer,
Sure.
can you give us some information or some highlights about the internship that you are planning for the guys? Which companies they will be meeting and what kind of technology they will be facing?
So we've got several companies that are very interested. Some of them include the Mekorot, Israel's water company, which does all of Israel's water, including desalinization, wastewater treatment. There are companies that are more related to soil science, companies that look at sampling soils and doing projects related to soil health. Even in Tel Aviv today, we have a new railway that's being established, a light rail, and the company that is doing the air pollution around this light rail is also interested in taking up interns. There's a wide range of different companies that are also related to NGOs that do environmental sciences or implementation of different technologies around the world. Cultivate, the NGO that I run, also will be taking up an intern. So maybe our internship will not even be in Israel. Maybe we'll send you around the world as part of our program. But in general, there's everyone that I've spoken to is very excited about this program. And there's a lot of interest in having internationals come and be part of Israel's ecosystem. It's kind of strange to think about. Sometimes I think that Israelis maybe we're a little we like to talk about the technologies and about our work to the point that we're excited that people who want to learn come here, because we want to share everything. When you come and you spend time with an expert who's all day running around sampling soils, and you want him to talk to you about his job, he would love talking to you about everything about soil, everything about sampling soils. So it's really a mutual program that anyone who's interested, there are many people who are very excited about this type of internship program within Israel.
Okay, thank you, Tomer. Here we have some questions, Alexandra, and then afterwards, Jackie. Yes, Alexandra.
Hello.
Hi.
I just wanted to ask about the part that Professor showed us, that they were researching how the agriculture affects the water, and then the water affects the food that people eat. So I'm wondering, do the professor and the students, so people in this program, also do the part of analyzing the people's health that take, so people who take in this type of food, or is it left to other programs, so that turns into interdisciplinary work, or what happens with that last step of research between how food affects the health of people eating this kind of produce?
So Alexandra, thank you very much for the question. This is really to the point. And this is a knowledge gap that we are working on together with others. You have to remember that the pharmaceuticals that are being introduced to us via consumption of produce that are irrigated with low quality of water, the concentration are extremely low. So they are not in the level of therapeutic level that will see a direct effect on the human being. What we are talking here is about a chronic exposure. So we are exposing the people to those medication on extremely low level, but for many, many years. We don't know the health consequence of that. And therefore, we are working together with people from the School of Veterinary, for instance, to study the effect on embryos, on farm animals. And we are working also with people from the Faculty of Medicine to see the effects on human beings. So this is a study that is emerging now. And I'm sure that in the next few years, and maybe you will be part of that team, you will be the one that will reveal what are the health consequences on that. We don't know yet. And we are one of the pioneer groups in the world that are working on that. And many other groups in our campus are working on different niches that related to effect of intensive agriculture on human health in the end. So I sure hope that I answered a little bit your question.
Yes.
Thank you, Benny.
Can I
Yeah.
add just Benny?
One second, Jackie here was waiting. One
Aliza-
second, and then
Aliza-
Adi Jacob, okay?
Aliza, let me just add a little bit to what Benny was saying.
Sorry, it's you. I didn't pay
Uh,
attention. Yeah.
There's Alexandra, if you're really interested, look up some of the papers published by Benny, and you'll see that there's articles that even look at urine samples of human beings who consume vegetables in Israel and looking at whether these pharmaceutical compounds are located in people's urine after eating vegetables. Some very revolutionary study and very, way beyond everyone else. One of the first groups one of the first researchers to be looking at this is really information. So it's really people who are able to see these topics 10, 20 years before everyone else. Just like there's many other researchers at the faculty that have a very forward-thinking research group with them.
Okay, thank you, Tomer. Jackie, and then Adi. Yeah, Jackie. We don't hear you. We don't hear you. You're on mute. Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Thanks now. Hello, everyone. Actually, I come to this conference because I have highly curious about Hebrew University, and actually my background is not related to agriculture at all, but I just catch the opportunity, so I just dive in. And I have one question because I actually want to do psychology in my doctoral program. So actually, I always curious about Israel and the Hebrew culture. So I want to know from your guys' experience about the application, the student who they are applied to Hebrew University, are they like a kind of because they are attracted by the culture or some belief or religions? So
thank you, Jackie, for your questions. Maybe Mimi or Naama
Yeah, Jackie,
can write to you an email.
we will. Jackie, I'll write to you now. I'll write you in the chat and we'll do a private Zoom together, okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mimi. She will write to you, Jackie, okay?
okay.
Adi Jacob.
Yes, I'm trying to understand if I'm taking the first year, the 1 year degree, could I try to apply at the end of it for a PhD in the faculty?
After the 1 year non-thesis track, you can continue on to the 2-year thesis track. You find an advisor. And this advisor, during the first year, you find an advisor, you can also, if you excel at your work and you like each other, you can continue on with him to a PhD. It happens to many of our students.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? You can raise your hand. We have here a question. Shalom, does the program only cover the aspect of effect of pharmaceutical? No, it covers many aspects. Tomer and Benny, can you answer the question in the chat?
In the chat?
Does the program only cover aspects of effect of pharmaceutical
No.
occurring? And no, it covers
definitely
all
no.
aspects.
This was just one example, and the example of what we are doing in our group. And this is just only one angle of the different studies and different topics that will be covered in that program. Just to give you a taste of what we are doing, but this is just one example. So this is not the focus of the entire program. The program is much broader in that respect. However, it's focused on the interface between agricultural activity and the environment. And this is the uniqueness of that program as compared to many other programs in many schools that are dealing with environmental sciences. Here we are studying the agricultural environment that basically has no border and affecting the environment, and the environment is affecting later on the agricultural sector as well, and us as human beings.
Okay, thank you, Benny. Any other questions? Is application open? Yeah. Here's Naama is asking, is application open? What is the deadline for application? Shana and Nurit, can you answer please this question?
Hi, everyone. Yes, the application is already open. You can apply already in our website. If you are in need of a scholarship.
The link to the website in the chat?
Sure, I already put it, but I will put it again. The admission with a scholarship is until March 11, and admission for self-funding students is until June 30. We are now offering a $500 discount for students that are, for candidates that are now registering. So you can come to see our website to check out if you meet the backgrounds and the requirements and register.
What I would also, we have also some scholarships. So if you're interested, you can apply for it. And Naama is also asking a very important question. We have some career options for alumni and faculty in this program. All of our alumni are involved in academia. Many of them continue on for research. Many of them are working in NGOs. One of the NGO that Tomer is running and heading is a wonderful activity in government offices, in international organizations worldwide. We have some of them who open their own businesses as an entrepreneur. We have really, our alumni really found different venues for to apply the knowledge they acquired at our program. And you can find, we actually, if you look in our site and our Facebook, you can see success stories of our alumni. We have some information about it. Yeah, Varde, Kushal, please.
Hi, ma'am. I have some couple of questions for the professor.
If it's not a big problem, can you open the camera? It will be easier.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, it's easy. Hi, nice to meet you.
I'm Kushal from India. I have some couple of questions for professor. That while studying the program of environmental sciences, do we have a glimpse of climate protected agriculture, the agriculture that takes place in polyhouses, hydroponics, etc.?
Yes, definitely yes, and this is because you're situated in the Faculty of Agriculture in our campus, and you're free to take classes outside of the program, and you're free to do a lab exercise in those areas, in guys from the Institute of Plant Sciences that are doing hydroponic and other growing techniques. So yeah, you will be maybe not directly exposed to that via the program. However, you can take additional classes or meet the faculty members and students that are dealing with those issues. So yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, and so one more question. I'm completing my graduation degree in May, and I won't be receiving my transcripts of passing the degree till June or July. So should I apply next year, spring, or shall I apply this fall?
Shana, Nurit, maybe you can answer that.
You're ending your degree in July, or you're going to receive the transcript in July?
My transcripts in July.
So you can apply. You need to start sending all your transcripts until the last semester. You can upload all the documents, and the admissions office will check if you meet the requirements.
Yeah, but I won't be applicable for scholarships, right? Yes, I'm missing the deadline for scholarship.
Then you need to apply now.
Yeah, but without the transcripts of my final year?
Okay, let me
Yes, you're only missing one semester. Yes, Nurit, answer.
Let me clear that up. The application period is now going on, and if you are going to be a self-funding student, you have until the end of July. But you say that you're interested in a scholarship.
Yeah.
So we're going to be selecting scholarship recipients already in April. And if you don't have your transcripts, then you'll have to wait till next year.
Fall.
Yeah, for a
22.
scholarship, yes. But if you'd like to apply as a self-funding student, we can wait until July.
Okay, and my last question is like, do Israel offer STEM extensions?
Exchange students?
STEM extensions, the extensions that we receive for work for a year or like a couple of months after completing our degree.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Can you please?
What I suggest is, Varda, that you, Nurit, please write your email address and you
I
can
did.
correspond
Okay,
with
yeah,
Varda, and you
I'll
can
get
ask.
connected with you now.
Yeah, and you can contact her directly and she'll give you all the necessary information
That's right.
specifically, and that will
Thank
be
you.
the best way. Any other questions? You can raise your hand, ask.
Someone asked if they have a degree in physics, or would they be qualified for the program?
So what's your answer? Yeah. Benny, degree in physics will be qualified. It really, I think, really depends what other courses and what are the courses. I suggest that he will write to you directly and you'll find what other courses he took. And then Benny or Tomer can go over it and see if he's eligible to apply, if he has the right background.
Aliza, you are generally right, and any graduation from exact sciences is okay for that program, and maybe some adaptation or additional courses will be required, but generally speaking, it's okay to start with. So, but we need to have a good view about, you know, the track record.
Great. Any other questions? Any other questions that I didn't answer in the chat? I didn't have a chance to answer.
Yes. Would you take people who learn environmental economics for this degree?
Environmental economics. Environmental economics. Where
I'm
did you
learning it
study
right now. The last year of the first degree in the faculty.
Okay, so Adi, why don't you, you are in my department, I'm in the environmental economics department. So you can come and ask questions and see what you take and see maybe what additional courses you have to take. Okay, I'm not sure what courses you took already and if you have the right background, and we can check it. You can come over to our office and with your transcript.
Okay, thanks, Eliza. I will apply.
Okay, okay. Any other questions? Okay, so I hope you'll stay in touch with us. I hope we gave you a very brief taste of what does it mean to study in Israel, what does it mean to study at the Hebrew University, and specifically in our campus. And just I want to tell you that our slogan of this program is "The future is here." The means what will be done in the future in other countries is already done here. And I hope you will learn all the knowledge, acquire all the knowledge, so you will be at the forefront of the research and technology that can be applied for the environment when in future years. So thank you very much and stay in touch. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. See you next year.
Thank you very much.
Bye. See you next year.
Thank you.